We are here to talk about all things hopeful and all things resistance in this batshit crazy world of politics that make no sense and so much emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, economic upheaval. And one of my favorite things to talk about is emotional intelligence. And so we are going to talk about all things emotional intelligence, certainly in light of the world we live in today.
And almost every part of my life that I feel like a sense of existential dread is almost at this moment like just connected to the state of the country.
Or lately, a lot of my emotional upset comes from mystification that I have with how people can be the way they are, that I don't get angry much because I've learned to level my emotions. But with what's going on right now, I do feel angry more often than I used to.
It's the difference between letting your emotions run you versus you maintaining control of your emotion.
There is no regime that will wear me down to the point where I will not resist. I will be discouraged. I might be disheartened. I might be whatever, but I will not ever quit resisting. Part of the reason people give up is because it hurts to care. It hurts me to care that they're snatching people off the street. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be a resistance fighter in my retirement. Here's my new emotional regulation response is fuck those people. But two things can simultaneously be true. I can say if you support Donald Trump or if you're a MAGA, I have nothing to do with you, but I don't have to be mean or ugly or hateful. Our emotional intelligence game is strong.
Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to yet another episode of Hopeful Resistance. My name is Sarah and this is Aaron,
Hi.
and we are here to talk about all things hopeful and all things resistance in this batshit crazy world of politics that make no sense and so much emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, economic upheaval. We are here to give you ideas for resistance, no matter what your bandwidth is, as well as ideas on how to remain hopeful. And I have a spoiler alert. We're going to talk about something really like near and dear to my heart today. So, Aaron, shocking. Whatever shall we?
uh, I wanted to talk about emotional intelligence today.
Yay!
Um,
My favorite
I
thing.
For some background on why this came up, I recently went and did some corporate training with my work, and it included it was for emotional intelligence, and I thought that was really exciting, and I really enjoyed the course, and so I thought it would be really fun to get into your wheelhouse.
I know. So, for anyone who's new to the show, I am a retired behaviorist and corporate trainer consultant, master coach, blah, blah, blah. And one of my favorite things to talk about is emotional intelligence. And so we are going to talk about all things emotional intelligence, certainly in light of the world we live in today. And I think one of the important things that we are going to touch on is the so what, who cares aspect of it, and how is it a helpful tool. So, Aaron, where do you want to start? I mean, there's so many things.
Yeah, there's always so many things. The one thing, and this is may not actually touch on it explicitly, but the woman that did our training, I'm not going to drop names, but the woman
No,
that did our
yeah.
training, you know her, and whenever she said that she had met you through Plaid for Women.
Mhm.
I'm not familiar enough with what Plaid for Women is, I guess, beyond it being like, I guess, corporate empowerment for women.
Plaid for Women was a company that I started with another woman back in 2012 that was an online media company that offered blogging opportunities. We had live meetings, we had a radio show, we were starting to do some um, uh, TV like episodes, kind
Yeah.
of podcasts like this. And then I sold my share of the company and moved on to the next thing. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, I wasn't sure, but I
sure.
guess it's how you and her had met, and so we don't have to talk about that. I was just curious because I wasn't.
Well,
It's
it's
one of
amazing
those.
all the things you didn't know your mom did, right?
Well, it's yeah. It's so. This is the thing we talked about before the show is like, it's it's so funny to go and do this corporate training and listen to them talk about these. And we can talk about the four things that we mentioned, but that these things came literally so natural to me, I guess, that for me it always seemed so like common sense, and I think a lot of that is because you've always been a huge mentor of mine, and you were just always like inadvertently teaching me, Mr. Miyagiing me.
Trying to stuff little things into your
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah, yeah. I
Well,
uh I,
and
I think I used that Mr. Miyagi term whenever I was
right?
telling people like
Well, like we talked about before the show, you know, as you parent, you're the youngest of the three, and so, you know, your older brother, my favorite oldest child, is was like the tester, the beta tester,
right?
and your sister, who is my favorite daughter, she was okay. We did a little bit better, but not much. But you know, we actually got a few things right with you, so
Yeah.
yay, yay, yes, right?
Do
But
you
it's
want
emotional.
me to walk through? I'm sorry. Do you want
No,
me to
you
walk
go.
through these
Yeah,
four
I
things?
want you to share
So,
what emotional, because basically the focus of today is, and I want anybody who's watching, I mean, the little meme thing is, how is emotional intelligence going to help you? And
yeah.
it is in light of what's going on in the world, but it is also in light of, you know, day-to-day life. So yeah, start. What is emotional intelligence?
This is off of the they did a self-assessment at the end of it, and I have like a whole PowerPoint slide thing. We don't have to get into all that, but it's four things that it talked about, which is self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness or empathy, that word that, and then relationship management.
Well,
And
and I think in light of, I want to keep drilling this, in light of what we're dealing with. And if you hear all this noise in the background, we're in the middle of a pretty healthy rainstorm. I don't know if you can hear the.
we've got a storm coming in
Okay.
too, so
So let me know if you can't hear me because it's pretty loud. But
yeah.
so the first one, the self-awareness in the middle of all the batshit craziness that we're dealing with right now, people are all in the feels, right? And
Yeah.
depending on what day you talk to them, or me, or you know, angry, upset, hopeless, helpless, murderous. I mean, we're feeling
Yeah.
all the things. And I think one of the things that this emotional intelligence training probably taught you is it's okay. Whatever you feel is fine.
Right.
Did they give you a feeling wheel?
Um, she gave us a lot, and that's what I'm saying. I have the PowerPoint. Yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
Um,
Because anybody who's watching will give you a feeling wheel. One of the biggest components though is being able to identify what you're feeling. And I
right,
think a lot of us may be feeling things that we haven't felt in a long time, like hopelessness and despair and
right.
raging against the void and stuff like that. So did she talk about how to
She
identify
talked about
this?
yeah, sorry. She talked about let me get like I said, I got that. I have this
Well,
big packet
I
and
know so many things.
yeah, and so she talked about seven core emotions.
Okay.
She talked about there was another part of it that I really liked where she was talking about so yeah, emotional intelligence, managing emotions, understanding emotions, using emotions, and perceiving emotions.
Right.
Just
And see, all of these things are so critical. And you mentioned the seven core emotions, and I think it's
yeah.
important to touch on those. I always tell people happy is one of the seven core emotions, but I don't really think we need to spend a lot of time on telling you how to be happy. It's
Yeah.
we kind of get that one down, right?
Yeah.
But now the seven that I have are surprised, angry, fearful. I gotta look at my list. Surprised, angry, fearful, bad, disgusted, and sad. So
Disgusted, yeah. There was one
yeah,
of them. That was the one I guessed because I was just looking at her face and I was like, that one.
right.
She's like, yeah. She wrote it down.
And the beauty of a feeling wheel, and I'm I don't have it up on my computer, but I'll show you here. This is
Oh
a
yeah.
feeling wheel, and we'll put a link to it. It's the Dr. Gloria Wilcox's feeling wheel. You can use this kind of a thing from the inside or the outside. So in the middle of all this stuff that we're dealing with, you might feel worthless or insignificant, like nobody cares about me. And you don't realize that if you drill that down, that's fearful.
Right.
I wouldn't think worthless would be fearful. I would think worthless would be sad. But when you can drill it down to the core emotion, then you can say, well, why do I feel that? Why do I feel worth?
Right.
What do I feel? So
I
the
can,
first
I can, I can see that track like just in my head, right? Because you would feel worthless. You would feel worthless
feel
because you
worthless,
would be afraid that people didn't didn't care about you, and so it would
right?
make you
But the feeling will, like, persecuted. That's another one. I mean, you're fearful because you feel attacked. The thing
right.
about feelings that we have going on right now are, I think a lot of us are feeling things that we haven't felt in context of the world.
Right.
I mean, the politics that are, yeah, or the politics that are going on in the world, we're feeling helpless in the context of my whole life, not my relationship with you or this dysfunctional relationship.
Right.
And that's
No,
scary.
yeah, I'm really just listening because I don't I think because I don't disagree. Like it makes sense that especially right now that if like I can think of all the things that do bring me joy in my life, and those things are really easy. But in almost every part of my life that I feel like a sense of existential dread is almost at this moment like just connected to the state of the country.
It absolutely is. Or lately, a lot of my emotional upset comes from the pure mystification that I have with how people can be the way they are that support the current administration. So, when did she give you any tips on how to better identify your emotions or what to do with them or sit? I mean, what did she say in terms of how
So
to identify what you're feeling?
yeah, so we had the self-assessment, which I think was probably supposed to be one part of it. And then we did so we did a lot of like activities, which I thought
Nice.
was
Yeah,
really
that's good.
neat. So because it wasn't a lot of like well, one, I don't know that I could have stood that I could have. It was like 4 hours of I think it was 4 or 5 hours of training.
Oh, that's a
I don't
lot.
know that I could have sat in 4 hours of training and it just be a like a slideshow with lecture.
Yeah,
So there was a lot of like really well one it was connected to corporate like to like
of
corporate it's
course,
because it's
of
corporate
course.
training. So most of it was focused on like for example when in the beginning what was it like there was the three things that we focused on which was managing the self, managing others, and managing the organization. And so in the beginning when we're talking about managing self where she was really laying out like I'll just read her what the slide was, which was like 90% of leaders think that they are the top 10 performers. EI is responsible for 58% of your job performance. What's emotional
Say
intelligence?
that again. DEI.
So no, EI, emotional
Oh,
intelligence. She
EI,
just
emotional.
summarized. Yeah, yeah. So that's why I said EI. So I'll just emotional intelligence is responsible for 58% of your job performance. People with high emotional intelligence changing, uh, earn more changing leadership styles. What got you here won't get you there, as she puts
Well,
it.
and see,
And then
this is what's important. I mean, your training was in context of corporate life, but I also
right,
think if we think about how emotional intelligence correlates with how we cope right now, you wake up in the morning with this sense of existential dread, like, okay, what fuckery is going on today?
yeah,
And then you run into people who are hateful, rude, insensitive, whatever. And then how do you deal with that? And then if you're one of the marginalized populations, you're in fear. And in your case, your family was directly impacted by some of the administration uh,
right,
cuts. And so then you have rage. So I think if we look at emotional intelligence, it's way more than 50% of how you're dealing with what's going on. So being able to
right.
identify how we feel. Did you? did she, other than the feeling wheel, did she give you some concrete examples on how to like better identify what you're feeling?
Um, I we can go through this. I
No,
think I
don't read
want
your
I
slides.
Yeah, that's what I said. I don't
Sorry.
want to. No, it's all right. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time reading slides. Um, I want to say yes, but this sounds so bad for her. But I feel like the reason why if it might I can't point to any specific thing was because, like I said in the beginning, for
You've
me,
incorporated this into your
yeah, this is
class.
just like okay, this all makes sense to me.
Well,
It
then
wasn't
let's
like
talk about it.
so
Yeah,
much new stuff.
let's talk about it from the perspective of someone who may be watching who has no clue what it is.
Right.
So for me, I don't get angry much because I've learned to level my emotions. But with what's going on right now, I do feel angry more often than I used to. And
Right.
so for me, using emotional intelligence means I can identify early, oh, I'm starting to get angry. This is important because the next thing I know, I have a horrible temper, as you might remember from
Yes.
hanging out with me, which I have under control now. But when people can't identify what they're feeling in the workplace or in life with the things that are going on, you can't preempt if you don't know that you're starting to get angry.
Right.
You're just like
And
ride the ride.
yeah, exactly what I was gonna say. It's just like you're letting it's the difference between letting your emotions run you versus you maintaining control of your emotion.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
oh, you go.
no, I it's every time something comes to me, I just get to listening to you because it's so like this is just your thing, and I'm like trying to soak it all up. Um,
Well, and I want anybody who comes to this particular episode to be able to walk away with some things. So, of course, the feeling wheel is a really good way to identify what you're feeling. But I also think, we're watching the news. I think we have to be careful in this particular climate. Like you and I have talked about this before, that we have to have ostrich days where we back away. Because I was actually studying this week. I mean, even though I'm retired, I'm still curious about a few things. And there is gosh, what is the name of that thing? Let me find it.
yeah,
There
and I started
yeah, there's a
taking.
syndrome that's going on right now. And it's give me 1 second. It's
So the thing that popped into my head, and this was something that was talked about during the training,
narrative fatigue.
was
Sorry,
what is
narrative
it?
fatigue. It's called
Oh,
narrative fatigue, and we'll talk about it in a second. So go on. I'm sorry.
it's all right. I want to write that down. So whenever one of the things that you talked about, and I really feel like this probably is one thing that I think will help people in maybe not specifically, well, actually, it'll help you no matter what. It's being adapted to change. Um,
Oh yeah.
I know most people hate change. I think that all the time I spent in the military just kind of, I don't know, calloused me against that aspect of things where like I am a kind of take things as they come kind of person and be in control of the things that I
Because you've
can
learned.
and
See, you've learned. I would wager though. Um, okay, so the behaviorist in me is coming out. More than 50% of the population has a behavior style that does not like change.
right.
And then of the remaining 50%, like a third, half of those tolerate it. And then a third of them are like, woohoo, change, yay.
Yeah.
So, and I go by the DISC model of human behavior. There's 157 different variations of that, but basically that's what I go by. And so you're 100% right. People like variation in their routine or variation in their life, but most people don't like huge dramatic change
Right.
unless they feel like um, it will benefit them in some way.
Right. And I think I think that's also one of the things that makes it really hard for people um to get politically motivated if you think about it because now what would require of them to do is completely disrupt their life in some way.
And I will also say, I think an important thing, what keeps people from becoming politically involved is, again, not just the disruption, but the hostility and aggression that is involved in
Right.
right now. But when we,
Which
oh,
Oh, sorry, just a note on that. I think what we're trying to do here is with like the five calls and the things that we talked about last episode is introduce ways that people don't need to like
that's
crazy
right.
disrupt their lives.
We actually got quite a bit of good feedback on the last show about the five calls thing. Like, oh my gosh, he made it look so easy, and it was like cleaner. And I never thought to call before or after office hours. So
Yeah.
that was a big positive thing. So when we of course, when we are talking about how emotional intelligence helps, I think the first thing that we cannot emphasize enough is you have to be able to identify how you feel. What are
Right.
you feeling? Okay, I'm upset. Well, what does that mean? So we're going to post this feeling wheel so you can identify what you're feeling. But the next thing is then, well, what the hell do you do with that?
Right.
Think that we have to help you. Part of emotional intelligence, the power of it is, okay, I'm afraid. Okay, now what? I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm depressed. Now what? So what did she talk about it, or what did anything stick out for
So
you? What to do
so
with how you feel?
on the self on the self-awareness, this clicked in just now for me. Whenever we first started the class, we went around and introduced ourselves and then gave two things we were feeling about the class. And so I think that was supposed
Nice.
to be, yeah,
Okay.
the self-awareness side of it. Because you kept asking me, and I'm like, I guess I don't know. Let me think about it. Like I
I
just didn't,
know,
but
right?
it like popped in my head just now. As far as self-regulation, whenever we that's whenever we started like breaking out and doing like group table activities, right? Where like she had these things that we got to do. And I don't remember what we did for that one. I so we did so the I could tell you each one that we did. So we did the one that I guess sticks out the most is we did one where we were given like half a deck of cards and we were given like a set of rules that we had to follow to play a card game. And you have, all these tables, and what you don't know is that everybody has a different set of rules. So you're playing at your
The
table.
table?
Yeah.
You're trying to play
No,
cards
no.
with other. Oh,
At your table, you have rules, but the next table over, they have a different set of rules. And the next table from that has a different set of rules.
okay.
And whenever somebody wins, they move to another table. And if somebody had like the lowest score, they move to another table at every table. So you go
And you
from
had to
one
learn
table.
the new rules, or you
You
kept
but
by your rules.
what here's the thing, you can't talk. So you're having to go to the other table, not and they don't know, and you figure it out, but they don't know, and initially you don't know that now we're all playing by different rules. Like two new people showed up to this table, and
They're
of
doing
those
things
two,
that make no sense.
right. And so then you start playing, and then like you're playing your cards, and you're thinking, "Oh, I won." And then somebody else takes it, and you're like, "Okay, what
Just
just
happened.
happened?" Yeah. And so
But the
you're
point was well made, I'm sure, that we all come to life with different sets of rules,
yes,
different
yes. And
perception.
I really like that one
Now,
a
you know
lot.
what? A minute ago, we were talking, when I was asking about the feelings, you were talking about perception of feelings. There was a whole list of things that you read. What was that?
Um, was it off my slides things over here?
I don't remember. We'll follow up with that off.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had
I'm
listed some things, and I thought, I don't remember that list before because you were talking about identifying your feelings, perceiving your feelings.
Oh, yeah, so this it was managing emotions, understanding emotions, using emotions, and perceiving
Okay,
emotions.
okay, okay, okay. All right. I think it's just a reframing of what I'm familiar with.
Right.
But I heard managing and using and then perceiving. Okay. So anyway, so that is an excellent example though, because I think when we talk about politics right now and the batshit craziness, two of the things that I think are so important to remember in terms of our emotional intelligence as it relates to this political scenario we find ourselves in, fast beats smart and fast can throw you. Things are happening so fast you feel overwhelmed, and that's the whole point of the strategy.
Right.
But I think that is where you have to identify what you're feeling, and then you have to move forward making choices based on what your bandwidth is.
Yeah, the it makes me think back to whenever we were talking. Um, I don't well besides ostrich days, we whenever we were talking about how um the like the us versus us mentality that people get, which I think stems from like the anger that that people don't feel like other
Absolutely.
people are doing enough.
Well, I can't take my anger out on the administration, so I'm going to attack you because you're right in front of me.
Yeah, and that's just something that just popped into my head whenever we're people are like really people want, I think right now they want there to be like they probably in some of them want there to be like a full-on revolution and they don't feel like and if they don't feel like everybody's doing enough to kind of make that happen for some.
Well, emotional intelligence wise, we get
Yeah.
impatient and we feel antsy. We want it resolved. This is that narrative. I mean, the narrative fatigue is a bit of a different thing, but I want to talk about that for a second. Let me pull that up because I did I did think it was really important. So what's going on right now is this thing called narrative fatigue. And basically it's a psychological phenomena where we're desensitized and we become disinterested. It's compassion fatigue, but it's on this global scale, right? We're
All
tired
right.
of the narrative. We're tired of the fact that the current administration behaves in erratic ways. We're tired of the snatching people off the street, and then they're going to, the courts will turn around and tell them that they come back. We're just becoming desensitized to that. And I think the emotional intelligence part plays in because we're just like,
Fuck it. Yeah, yeah, we've talked about that before too, the lay down and die syndrome, where it's like,
that's
it's
the
just
goal. Remember, that is the fuck it mode is
yeah,
the goal that will quit fighting. And there is no old man in the world who is going to get me worn out to the point where I will not resist. None.
right.
There is no um there is no regime that will wear me down to the point where I will not resist. I will be discouraged, I might be disheartened, I might be whatever, but I will not ever quit resisting.
I think it's also for, and this is definitely true for me, and maybe it'll be good for other people, is in I'm so stubborn that I just don't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing of
Yep.
knowing that it worked. So part of it,
100%.
uh, so part of at least in my mind, for my mindset, it's always just been like, well, that if that's what they want, then fuck them. I am not. I am not gonna lay down and die.
And you know what? I think too, when we talk about emotional intelligence in light of what's going on with the political system right now, I think that's why we have to keep drumming on. You have to resist in the ways that are meaningful for you. Your
Yes,
bandwidth might be like this. I can't make a phone call. I can't print out cards and leave them at the oil change place. I can't do anything. Okay, well, maybe you can bake cookies, or maybe you can make a sign, or maybe you can just buy a sign and put it out in your front yard. I think that we have to remember that emotional intelligence asks us to acknowledge where we are.
yeah, that's kind of a part of that self-awareness too, right? Is being able like you identify it, and then since we were talking about regulation, it's like if I realize like if I realize that I am like fuck it, then I should be able or I should be trying to I guess regulate back to okay, no, you know what, not fuck it.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to not to correct you, but I hate to say I should,
Yeah, I mean I'm
we
go ahead.
should, we ought to, because I want you to regulate because it makes you healthier. Okay, maybe you are fuck it, and maybe you're not ever going to do anything, but you're fuck it right now because I don't have the bandwidth. I'm taking a break. Then I'm going to, as you say, I'm going to re-regulate to get back in the game
Right,
because I want to care. Part of the reason people give up is because it hurts to care. Like
right.
it hurts me to care that they're snatching people off the street. I actually had some MAGA folks laugh at me, like laugh at me that I said that they're snatching people off the streets. And I pulled up the video of that woman who was walking down the street, that
Yeah.
varsity girl, and I'm
And
like,
what's insane is there's a lot of videos that you can go and look and and you can show them and be like, no, this is not
no,
your
showed them that video, and they're like, well, what's that? Like, who's that? And I'm like, you really got to turn Fox News.
yeah. Like you gotta yeah. Um no,
And so
and I
there's
think
all the feels. I mean, let's talk about that. Okay. Like, I'm disgusted with your ignorant, not your, I'm disgusted with MAGA's ignorance. I'm disgusted with people who make excuses for every horrible behavior of the administration. I'm pissed off that people who are supposed to be aligned with me morally, value wise, politically, attacking me because I don't care about the thing that they care about, right?
right.
So we have all these feels, and I'm like, okay, I'm a 64-year-old woman who's traveling. I'm not even in the United States. I'm trying my best to resist from afar
Yeah.
because this is not what my retirement is supposed to look like.
Yeah, I
I am not
gotcha.
supposed to be a resistance fighter in my retirement.
Yeah, well, and that's honestly, I was gonna go back to this. It is also one of those things where, because you're saying you talked about how like people don't like to care because it hurts, and it makes me think about some even like if you go to like a smaller scale, like I have friends that, like at their job they'll get like pissed off about something at work, and people are like, "Why do you care about that? Like it's just your company or whatever," and it's like or like why are you I think what they say is why are you so angry and for me it was like I would get angry about stuff like at work and people like why are you so angry and it just would be like it would just occur to me it's because I care about this like I
Well,
care about this
and I
shit.
think too, I'm going to pull up the feeling wheel again because I love the feeling wheel.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on the outer rim of the feeling wheel for angry.
Mhm.
Okay. Betrayed, resentful. I feel disrespected. I'm indignant. I'm furious, jealous, hostile, annoyed, frustrated, bitter. I mean, I think the important thing is that we absolutely have to understand that I may be angry, okay? But anger is the root, but that's not the symptom, okay? It's the
Right.
cause, but not the symptom. I'm feeling skeptical or dismissive, but that's because deep down I'm angry. Or you might be angry and you're like, why am I so mad? And then you drill down and you're like, oh, I feel violated. I feel humiliated.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if that brings it back around to because we talk about how disgusted we are whenever like MAGA people they like they laughed at people whenever you see people getting snatched up off the street. I have a story for that too. Um, and we're just or that same thing like with their ignorance, like the fact that you can't acknowledge this is going on. Do you think that those feelings like that to me, this just I use it so much, but it's just the cognitive dissonance. They laugh it off because to accept that that's happening means that they have to
So
embrace that they're not.
I'm going to completely out myself right now, and I'm not proud of it. I randomly check my memories on Facebook, and I'm going
Yeah,
somewhere with this, trust me.
yeah,
And there have been posts coming up from 10 years ago that caused me to cringe so hard I'm gritting my teeth.
yeah,
Things, just things about vaccines and things about immigrants and things. My perspective has shifted so dramatically. And I asked myself, what was different then than is different now, 10 years
yeah,
ago? And I realized that I have developed empathy, that I am able to say, oh, this is what that feels like. Or I'm
yeah,
able to say, oh, my sources were bad. Or I'm able to say I was reacting emotionally, focusing on hating this one group of people who, were the cause of all my trouble. So, no, I do not think that they are aware, and I think the cognitive dissonances, hate and fear are comfortable because they're so primitive.
okay. We've talked
It's
about that
easy
the
for me to
lizard
hate.
brain, the yeah,
It's lizard brain. It's so easy for me to hate anything different
yeah,
because to digress for a moment, part of emotional intelligence and the amygdala which is this tiny little gland in the back of your head, fight, flight, freeze, or faint
Right.
gland. Uh, Back when we were primitive, we had to quickly assess a threat. And basically, it was anything different than me. If it didn't look like me, it was probably a threat. If it didn't sound or smell or, you know, anything, it was probably a threat. It was a bear, a lion, a tiger, whatever. And so, of course, not millions, but 10,000 years later, we pretty much do the same thing. Anything different is other.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, the MAGA movement definitely does a fantastic job of harnessing that.
Fantastic job.
Yeah.
And that's
Of,
why I
of,
think fast beats smart, because it's easy to just say, hate anything that's different than you.
yeah.
If
And
I
I
need a different pronoun, if I'm not wearing the clothes you think I should, if my skin is a different color, if I don't believe religiously like you do, then I am in this column of not worthy, not.
yeah.
And so we emotionally in the United States, we have, I will say, probably the lowest emotional intelligence of any country on the planet. And I feel no um, anxiety about stating that that's probably true, because we're like amoebas in a petri dish, because we're so media driven that the media or social media tells us to be upset about, like this whole the plantation burning down thing. I am so ashamed to be a white person sometimes when I see people posting about how upset they are because they had their wedding there.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I think the reason why that blew up is interestingly because it's something that's not connected to the administration. It was like a thing that people could rally behind and get excited about that wasn't
Well, so let
explicitly
me let
political,
me just
right?
tell you how it is exactly that and then some. So let me tell you something. So I posted this thing. There is a plantation called uh Whitney Plantation, which has for years and years and years, never had a celebratory event there. That's not what they do. They are a historical museum that does tours and does not gloss over the horrors of slavery. They don't talk about how, the kindness or all that. They are saying, in these rooms, this is where Black people were abused, branded, whatever. I made a post. I had a screenshot from 2020 where the Whitney Plantation does not allow weddings. I
Right.
posted it yesterday, 22 hours ago on Threads. It has had, are you ready?
Yeah.
Almost 500,000 views, almost 20,000 likes. And the comments under there range from yay to not nice.
Right.
And this is not my history. I can't even comment on it. I can't even respond because I'm a white chick. I'm a pasty white chick, like posting about this.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of how emotional intelligence, this is a different way. And absolutely the Black community has every reason to be all in the feels for this. 100%. I
Yeah.
100%. But the range of emotions about that, and I do think that because it's not quote unquote political, but I will say the Whitney plantation has lost a bunch of funding because of the current administration. So everything,
Yeah. Well, I
all roads lead to Rome.
yes. I was using that a lot in the car the other day because I can't remember what issue we were talking about, but it was I just pointed out that like that's just how MAGA functions in their mind. It's like Trump says a thing is going to be a thing, and then
Right.
if it never becomes that thing, it's okay because Trump knew it wouldn't ever
He
become a
meant for
thing,
it
and if
not
it
to be that. And I think that's
yeah
the other thing that causes us. I mean, let's look at emotional intelligence from the perspective of your a trans person in the United States right now. You are completely terrorized. You're
Oh yeah.
mortified because MAGA's leader has basically given their followers carte blanche to be rude and hateful and even aggressive and violent towards you. Your employers are no longer required to acknowledge you as a human being. So you're going through emotional upheaval. I did see that there is actually a therapist on Threads who's offering services to people who are impacted because of the current administration. And she said that 90% of their business comes from Threads.
Wow.
Yeah, and but they're offering mental health services to people who are impacted. So I think I don't have to be part of the marginalized community to feel things.
Right.
I think that's what is astonishing to me, the oblivion
Yeah,
land
I
people live in.
that's the real one that so the because the story that I was talking about earlier was whenever so I have someone at work that is a MAGA light, and I had the conversation, and I might have mentioned this before, a conversation with him about how they were how they were more or less just going into people's homes without warrants, that that ICE had been given a
The
memo that
four B law in
yeah, that had basically okayed them, and he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why isn't the mainstream media talking about this?" I go, "It was in USA Today. Like the mainstream media is talking about
Who's
it."
mainstream media. Oh, Fox, like
Yeah, and so
Fox
I
Morning Show.
and so it for me that was just one of those. I remember standing there, and after I said that to him, because he wanted to talk about something else, and I can't remember what it was he wanted to talk about, but it was something. It was basically something that was like one of those new MAGA Neuralink talking points. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not." I told him like I don't really know much about that, but I do know that ICE has been given the okay to enter people's homes without warrants. And
And you can
anyway,
say
that's
MAGA talking point via Fox News.
yeah. Well,
Because
and I mean, I make the Neuralink joke because I mean, I know Musk is still involved, even though
right, he's
he's
trying to go
stepped
behind the scenes.
away.
Right, he stepped away so that his stock will rise back up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably because they were gonna they were gonna bait him off the board. But but the yeah, it was just it. That's
So,
why I used the Neuralink. But you're right.
well,
It's Fox News almost explicitly. Have you seen what they're talking about? Like, I don't want to derail too hard, but Biden's health. I don't know if you
oh,
saw
okay.
today.
Oh, yes. Yes. Now this is okay, I have to address this because this is emotional intelligence and behavior all wrapped up into one thing. And so I'm going to pull up I was kind of hoping you'd mention this actually, but I wasn't going to. So one might wonder why in the world would they be talking about Biden's health like right now? Like, who cares? What's the point? Well, this is actually, if I can find it, this is actually a behavioral thing that is just so off the chain stupid that, okay, so here it is. There are 6 points here. Um, so, but it is to distract from Trump. The timing is impeccable. It's to distract from Trump, but here's the thing. There is this normalcy bias that has been created mentally by all news media, most news media. That's just Trump.
Yeah, it's just oh,
Trump.
sorry. Yeah, that hits a nerve with me every fucking time I watch them talk about anything. Every time I watch Republican lawmakers talk about what Trump does, anytime I watch the media talk about shit that Trump does, is it is so like it is so fucking infuriating
I
to
just tagged
just
you in this post because it talks about normalcy bias, political strategy, media framing, um, salience bias, because it, oh, it's so significant that Biden, and I am not going to, um, in any way, shape, or form, deny that Biden's mental capacity was declining. That would be foolish for anyone to argue that.
he's an 80-year-old man.
He was an 80-year-old man who's like responsible for all the things. And he came back to run a country after the death of his son And,
Yeah.
things are batshit crazy, blah, 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 blah. But to bring it up now in the middle of the chaos, and so now we can say, oh, well, this is all a result of, the crazy Biden thing. But this is a perfect example of the emotional whiplash that we experience right, right about the time we've come full circle. Because, just recently, we were coming pretty close to full circle where people were saying,
Yeah,
that's
with the guitar playing. I
the
think did I say
car
that right?
plane. Yeah, the
Cutter, I think is how
car
you're supposed to
plane.
say it. Cutter.
I have heard, yeah, Cutter,
Cutter.
Cutter plane with some of the crazy things he said about
The MS-13 tattoos, all
all
of
the
his
things. And
what do
then
they call them? They're
Bobart,
not like, yeah, they're
who,
the crash
who
outs. They're not meltdowns, they're called crash outs.
and who's the one who wants to have the credible rumor was, oh, Christy Nome was having conversations with some TV channel
Uh
about the
yes.
immigrants fighting for, I mean,
Yes.
like Hunger fucking Games.
Yes, and that one came up, and we had we I it's a I posted like a funny meme because there was an article the Daily Beast put out that was like, oh, the producer of the reality show for that they swore that it wouldn't be a complete dystopian nightmare, and I posted the GIF from Anchorman. It was like my response to them. I don't believe you. Like that, what you are saying is that
Yeah.
is exactly what it will fucking
But
be.
if you look at so how is emotional intelligence supposed to help us here? I think that it's important to recognize that we can have all the feelings. I can feel depressed and discouraged and disheartened, but that doesn't mean that I've lost. The fact that we feel. As a matter of fact, I wrote something the other day about that, and I wish I could find it. Um, you know, just because I feel discouraged doesn't mean I'm defeated. Just because I feel depressed or any of the things, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
I've lost. It just means, man, this sucks. This sucks. I can say this sucks. It can simultaneously be true that this sucks and democracy is winning. Democracy
Right.
is winning. The Supreme Court is siding with the Constitution.
Yes.
I
In
mean,
in
come on.
in ways in which even myself admittedly were like, but a lot of people were unsure that the Supreme Court would, because a lot of the judges on the court were appointed by Trump 1.0.
100%.
So
And certainly Amy Coney Barrett, I was so distraught when she was nominated because her constitutionalist perspectives are, I thought, way off the chain. But she really is, she's admonishing the very administration that placed her there. And of
yeah,
course, because she doesn't agree with them, you know, but the
anyone that doesn't agree, I mean, that's like the big beautiful bill that they're trying to
big,
pass,
beautiful bill that,
and it didn't even make it out of the committee in the House, and now Trump is raging against GOP saying,
but
you know,
let's also remember that it didn't make it out of the committee because they said there weren't enough cuts.
yeah.
So let's get
What's that program they swore they weren't going to touch, and then all of the things
oh, we're not
saying,
gonna touch Medicaid or social. I mean, they're coming
yeah,
after us all. They're gonna, and then okay, if Doge did such a great job, help me understand why we have to raise the debt ceiling $4 trillion.
well,
So let's
and help me understand why, if we're talking about cutting waste, why we're okay flying the president to and from his golf course in
in
Florida
a
instead of,
helicopter.
yeah,
Yeah.
and all the money that cost.
So let's talk about this. I
But
think it's important to say, okay, now what? So I know that I feel upset, angry, scared, whatever, and we'll post the feeling wheel. And so then I say, okay,
what do I do with this?
what do I do with this? That is the regulation part of I'm angry. And let me say this, the more you are able to closely identify what you're feeling, not just angry, I feel humiliated, I feel scared, I feel frustrated, whatever. The more closely you're able to identify that, the better you're going to be able to respond to that.
Right.
And when you're faced with challenging situations, if I can say I feel humiliated, or I feel this other thing, then I address that. And of course, we can't have a show that's long enough to talk about all that.
Right.
But
Because that's going to be different for everyone, right? Like,
it
because
it yeah,
go ahead.
yes and
Yeah,
yes
because
and
I was just like I talked about earlier that the one of the reasons why I find one of not easy, but one of the things that I found helps me avoid that like the hopelessness feeling is because I don't want to give them the satisfaction, and
no.
that may not be a good reason for someone else,
Well, and
but
for me, uh, the hope. I mean, it's ironic that I picked the word hope as my theme for this year, but for me, the hope is the wins, the weekly wins. So,
yeah,
um, so what I'm
I do
going
try to
to,
post those everywhere.
I know
I don't think it helps some of my friends because um, but
it helps the people
I
that are
just put them
looking
out there.
for hope. If we can't feed the people that don't want to be fed, right? So so
Yeah.
to wrap all this up, we've identified how we feel with all the craziness. We're trying to regulate how we feel, and then we're paying attention to how other people feel.
Yeah, and the last one that we talked about was relationship management. You know who popped in my head like
No,
right off Susan.
who?
Susan. The
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Susan
yes.
with
I could I wanted to say her last name
Susan Delaney Daniels.
Delaney. Daniels.
Yeah,
I remember Delaney.
yeah.
But
She's
if
the
there's
MAGA
anyone
whisperer. She's
yeah, if there's anyone that has relationship management, down pat, it's Susan because she has to. I mean, I
interesting.
definitely have people that I work with.
Yeah, if you read some of the stuff that she's been
Yeah,
posting, I mean, these people are taking hard hits and she's running out of fucks to give. I will say this though, here's my new emotional regulation response is fuck those people. But two things can simultaneously be true. I can say if you support Donald Trump or if you're a MAGA, I have nothing to do with you, but I don't have to be mean or ugly or hateful. I literally just ignore you. I just walk away. I think part of the time we forget what we're resisting. I'm not fighting the followers. They don't vote in Congress. They actually didn't win. I don't believe that we had the I don't believe they had the kind of a win that they're proclaiming. I don't know a nice way to say that.
yeah,
Um And so I think it's important that we remember who we're resisting and that we focus our efforts and energy. We can convert that anger into action. And that's part of hope. You know, the defining feature of hope is action. And
yeah.
so,
I think we've talked about it before too, where it's like, um, you don't want to become the monster that you're trying to fight against, right? Like,
right?
I feel like some people definitely lose sight of that, given how like some of the state of the current political sphere is just like if
I
the
did
us versus them mentality really takes over even for people on the left.
I dipped my toe in that water and I found that I'm dehumanizing them, that they don't care, that they don't, you know what? Their emotional intelligence is just low. That is demonstrable. Their capacity for compassion, the observable behavior tells me that by demonizing them, I am not giving them an opportunity to grow or change.
Right.
But
And you're
I
actually pushing them even further into that belief, I think, right? Because you're
I'm
proving their bias is correct
I'm
by hate by
behaving like a zealot Christian against them and acting like if I shame them enough, then they're going to like change.
yeah. Well, and I imagine too, like in their head, you confirm what they think.
Right.
Right? They think that you're just a hateful leftist, and if you're sitting there screaming at them and calling them a racist, bigoted asshole, you're literally proving them right.
My modus operandi, but I have quit doing research, I
I,
will say.
and I'm not saying you. I just mean
No, but
like
I
anybody.
understand that if we're calling them names and doing all that.
Yeah.
So I think that we acknowledge how we feel. We specifically identify what we're feeling. The the methods to deal with what you feel are wide and varied, but once you identify what you feel, I don't mean this glibly. A Google search will help you. So we're going to post the feeling wheel. You're going to be able to identify how you feel. And then I also think that action will help. And so we talk about 5 calls, and Erin's going to demonstrate that in a minute. And I think we also have ResistBot. We really promote the card campaign where you can print out cards that you leave behind. We talk about the indivisible movement where you can physically meet with other people in your neighborhood who believe the same. You joined a veterans group, didn't you?
Yes, common defense, yeah.
Common
And
Defense.
yeah, and they for veterans, it's really good. They have like calls you can hop into every week. Their calls are huge, but where they just talk through, ways that you can get involved if it's close to you and things that
And I
you
think
can
it's
do.
important to gather with like-minded people who are doing more than just bitching.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you go to a therapy group and everybody's just bitching, but nobody's talking about what to do or how to
Well,
get.
and that's one of the reasons why I like anymore. There's just friends that I don't really like want to talk about politics with because that's what it feels like. It feels like we're just like sulking, and then it's like, okay, like, are you guys
Well,
calling your reps? Or like,
even here, I tell people, I don't want to talk to you about politics, especially if we agree.
yeah.
So, but the other final thing is that anything, I don't care what someone tells you, I don't care what anybody tells you, something is better than nothing. If you're baking cookies for your local Democratic office and taking it up to feed the volunteers, yay you have done a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. If all if all you do is that, we have to focus on everybody doing what they can. So we will post the wins. We can run through some of them if you want, but I think more importantly, we just
No, we're doing the different thing this time.
we're going to for those of you who've watched us with any hey, we're up to 76 subscribers.
Oh man, look at us go.
And I remember when I told you we had 19.
Yeah, we go back and look at
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
we're
no.
with oil.
And there's been at times, we hit these moments of explosive growth even on Threads and Blue Sky. So,
Yeah,
you
you
know,
can
those-
find us. We do have links to our social media accounts. Aaron is super active on Blue Sky. I'm fairly active on Threads. I'm also very vocal on Facebook. You're welcome to find and follow us there. We always welcome civil debate, but do not be deceived. I will delete any swearing or vulgar
which
swearing.
I feel like we should mention, we have and will continue to do on YouTube as well. So if you want to post hateful, if you're not coming in with an argument, you're just coming in to be an asshole, we're just gonna delete the comment. So no, we might see it, but just know that for both of us, that's water off the duck's ass. We don't care.
Yeah, our emotional intelligence game is strong. Yeah.
Um,
So Aaron's going to again demonstrate and share with you how easy it is to do the 5 calls app. And so
yeah, and I remember last time I was sitting here trying to show you guys can't see anything, so it's
it's
only about
and
as
what
useful.
I could probably do is if you take screenshots as
That's
one
a good
time during
idea.
the week when you're making a phone call, just take screenshots and I
Yeah,
could
or I wonder if there's maybe next time because I'm pretty sure I can share screen in here, right? I know how to plug my phone into my computer and have it screencast
we can try
on
it.
my
Let's do it
computer,
next
and
week.
then
We'll do it
I
next
could
week.
try and screencast to that just to kind of show it.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different issues this week. One thing I really like about 5 calls, if you've not used it before, is whenever you open it, it gives you like a top issues list, and you can look for these top issues. You can filter it down to really anything that you want to focus on. I didn't talk about this a lot last time, but like you got top issues, all issues, but then you could focus on things like budget, civil rights, Doge, deportation, immigration, LGBTQ, workers' rights. You can really narrow it down to an issue that is very, near and dear and specific for you.
Nice.
Um, this another because the issue I chose that I thought we could look at is there one of the top issues right now is oppose harmful provisions in the Republican budget reconciliation bill. That's what we talked about earlier, the big beautiful bill.
Big,
The th
beautiful bill
yes, the
that
thing that
cuts
makes
all the things.
yeah. The thing that makes this one a little different is and is they give you an optional uh uh change on the script. So they list all the issues and if you want, you can add for this one it's like specifically I'm very concerned about and then it literally says optional and says pick 1 to 3 budget provisions. So you can gives you all the bullet points and you can just pick, one, two, or three of them. You can list all of them. It's just giving you like if there is one on here that you're like really
This is
concerned
the
about.
power of the five calls app, is that it is so customizable to what you care about.
Yes. And again, we really didn't talk about this last time, because it seems like it probably seems like it's such a general tool. But it really you can hone this thing down to be very hyper specific on the things that are important to you.
And again, I want to remind people what we talked about last time is if you don't want to talk to a human being, you can still make these phone calls. You just call before or after office hours.
Yeah, or on Sunday, like we record our episodes on Sundays. That almost every time that we call, we're probably not going to get someone on the phone.
No, it's five,
Uh,
yeah, 5 o'clock on a
yeah,
Sunday afternoon.
yeah, but yes, that's definitely something. I think in the beginning I think I was a little nervous about calling, so it was an easy way for me to get
And is
started.
it, what does it say about government in general that we're afraid? You're not, I mean, you were in the majority. I don't know anybody who does the five calls app, who is not nervous about calling their elected representative.
And I think it's more and the nerves of it is not for at least for me. I can't speak for everybody. It's not that I'm worried about pissing off a representative because and for fuck that guy, okay? I don't like him. Um, I what I guess my nervousness comes from I don't want to upset the person on the other end of the phone, and I don't want to get in a heated argument over
Why?
that's going to be
You're anxious.
recorded.
Yeah, you're anxious that you're calling this person. Yes.
Yeah, and so yeah,
But the five calls app actually helps you not argue because
yeah,
you're really just stating your objective. So let's go
and
ahead and get this thing done.
yeah, sorry.
That's
Okay, so
great. And I could talk.
same thing. Yeah, same thing. Roger Williams. I'm calling him in regards to that budget bill and some of the cuts that they're doing. So I have his thing saved.
That'll be cool if you can plug it in and we can hear it ring and all
Yeah,
that.
I hope you can hear it.
Hello, this is U.S. Congressman Roger Williams. I'm honored to be your congressman for the 25th District of Texas, and I look forward to working with you. And always remember, may God bless America, and also God bless the greatest state, Texas.
Hi, my name is Aaron Minchall, and I'm a constituent from Texas. And I'm calling to urge Representative Roger Williams to oppose the budget reconciliation bill and its harmful cuts to vital government programs. One of the things that I'm specifically concerned about is the cuts to student aid are a big one for me, and the cuts to SNAP, and this attempt to limit federal judges' ability to hold the Trump administration accountable. Congress should be passing fair and responsible budget that helps working families and communities, not one that slashes our benefits to fund tax cuts for the wealthy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
It just doesn't get any easier than that.
Well, and the best thing is you've got the script. If you need to adjust, like I didn't read that verbatim. I
No, I could
adjusted
tell
it.
you were.
If you need to, you can, and I mean, really, if you just, I've used it before just to, because it makes getting the number really easy. So I've called before angry as hell about, for
I
example, the
pretty
ice.
upset. I think last week when you called, you said, I demand.
Yeah, I was pissed off,
Yeah.
um, about the ice thing, and I mean, yeah, whenever I call that guy, and when I get his aides, I'm a lot more. Again, please be polite to the aides. They're just some of them they might be in full support, but some of them are just trying to
And
do a
this is
job.
where emotional intelligence is critically important. Venting your rage on the aides does nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing. And so we have to remember part of it is when we feel a certain way, you made me mad. No, you didn't. You said something that triggered a response like a amoeba in a petri dish, and I have to, pay attention to that.
Yes.
The fact that I'm mad doesn't mean I'm mad at you or that I'm mad that this thing happened and that I feel a certain way, and I have to address that. So I'm excited about you making these calls on the show. I think that's just
Yeah.
neat shit. And I like that we had this conversation today, folks. If you want to know more, if you want us to talk about anything or nothing, well, no, we want
Not nothing.
we're going to talk anyway. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We're going to do these things anyway. So
Yeah.
you let us know if there's something specific you want us to talk about. Your feedback has been awesome. Y'all are the one who suggested that Aaron make the calls on the show every week. So
I thought that was a great idea. I mean,
yeah.
I do my best to call every day, and if
Well, this helps, right?
yeah. I don't think I call on admittedly, I don't call on the weekends, but why not? Just throw
Why
one in there on a
come in
Sunday.
Monday
Yeah.
morning and they're like, oh, there's that Aaron.
Oh, yeah.
Also, shout out to Kat, who is the one who suggested that you make the call from the show. So we appreciate you. And
Yes.
there were some people who actually made some comments on the shorts about immigration and people who have been commenting on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we appreciate your conversation. Those of you who were engaged in civil discourse, and those of you who weren't, you're out of here.
Yeah.
You have been what is that? What do they
From
call it?
what?
What do they call it when somebody does something you don't like and you
I don't. You're losing me. You've been blocked. I don't know. It's all right. I could see
come
you
on.
hinting at the word.
It's what like if a company does something that you like, oh, censored, no,
Canceled. So
canceled.
we
You've been
okay.
canceled. God, getting old sucks. I'm telling you, getting old sucks. The other thing, this literally was just posted 5 minutes ago, and I saw somebody, well, not 5 minutes ago, looks like it's been a while, that President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer.
Yeah, I think I just sent you the New York Times link.
Oh, that was you. Oh,
Yeah,
I saw the message. I just didn't look.
yeah, and then
Yeah, you
yeah.
did.
So it's got
So
like
we're gonna have
that
lots of,
was
hmm,
now we're gonna be. It's one of those things where like, man, that really, if you go and read it, it's pretty tragic actually because it's
it
metastasizing
is.
his bone and stuff. So
Well, I think we have to it's metastasized to the bone.
yeah,
So
so we're
there's all the
basically
fields that are going to be involved with this that we're sad, why do bad things happen to good people?
yeah,
Uh, so we're going to all be processing our emotions all the time. And certainly this current world that we live in gives us lots of opportunities to stretch our emotional intelligence. So anything else you'd like to add?
no.
Okay.
This was a fun call for me. I know I didn't give much input, but just listen, like this is your thing. So it was really
Yeah.
fun to like, you know.
And I love it. I will tell you, I love emotional intelligence because of the power that it gives people to retake control of their lives. That you're not at the whim of how you feel. You are able to manage your emotions, not be managed by them. So
Right.
this is it changed my life, and I know people's lives who have been changed by it. So, and your life I think is better because you just innately picked up a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, friends, until we get together again, bye for now.